Let's see how well I know our next guest, the great Jerry Reynolds. What does Jerry like? We know Jerry likes basketball. He likes Sacramento. He loves the Kings. He loves the Kansas City Chiefs. What are some things that he doesn't like? Jerry Reynolds, if I'm right, he doesn't like wild turkeys on his lawn. He doesn't like the in-season tournament, and he really doesn't like defenders who leave the basketball. You're on defense and you're guarding somebody the ball, and then you leave it. Jerry doesn't care for that. Here he is, the great Jerry Reynolds. How are you today, Jerry? Yeah. How are you today, Jerry?
Hey, I'm doing good, guys. A little bummed from last night. But it's a playoff type game, really, other than the first quarter, which was absolutely nauseating.
Yeah. Jerry, I wanted to see, you were still on with Jay, so I apologize. You didn't hear. I listed some things that I don't think you care for. I want to see if I'm right. We know you love the Kings, you love the Chiefs, you love basketball, you love Sacramento. I listed some things that you don't like, and I had the in-season tournament you don't care for, wild turkeys running around on your lawn, and defenders who leave the ball, who are guarding the basketball and leave the ball. Are those three of your least favorite things in life?
Yeah, maybe in reverse order. That is one of those things. For over the years, it's one of the most amazing things why a guy will leave the guy with the basketball to go guard somebody who doesn't have it. And because I was taught this years ago that very pointedly by an old coach that, son, the only guy who can score is the guy with the ball.
Yeah. That's true. Hey, Jerry, we saw a lot of, backdoor cuts, ball watching, if you will, last night. What's your takeaway from last night? How'd you come away feeling from that one?
Well, I was really disappointed in the first quarter because obviously the starters, with the exception of probably of Domas, just didn't seem like he was ready to play. And that was disappointing, but the second and third quarters, the Kings, were by far the dominant team. And then, the fourth quarter came and, the Nuggets do what the Nuggets do a little bit. But overall, they're so close to being really good. Mm-hmm. I'm just convinced of that. And last night, everybody has injuries, but last night was particularly tough because without Keegan, you couldn't match up with Gordon. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I thought, or Porter for that matter, when you start, your starting forwards are, or DeRozan and McDermott, they could match up with either one of those guys. They just jump over the top of them.
And unfortunately, Michael Malone noticed that, didn't he, Jerry?
I had a suspicion he would. and you knew his team was, Mike, I know Mike Malone well enough that he can't beat the Kings enough.
Yeah.
He's kind of like how I feel about the Lakers,
Wow. Yeah. Oh, why do you think the Kings, who have two great closers, have had some issues like they did last night, finishing games?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know. It's like last night. I thought that was a great play set up.
Yeah.
And DeRozan is one of those guys you think's going to make that play 95 times out of 100, but that was one of the 5 and just mishandled it. But it would have been the winning. Kings would have got a win. So, I don't have an answer. Clearly neither guy has been quite as good as he's been in the past. You kind of think that'll turn around as the season goes, and maybe they'll win a bunch of close games at the buzzer with their closers closing. I don't know.
Hey, Jerry, as a coach, how do you preach patience and it's a long season versus, you got all these home games. The West is tough. You need to start stacking wins now. How do you play that? Because, I'm of the belief now, usually I'm riding a roller coaster and, you got to win these games. But then I look at it, I think they're 2.5 out of the 5th spot. Still 55 games left to go. How do you balance that as a coach?
Well, that's a great question. I do think you don't want to spend too much time focus on the length of the season because that almost can be a cop-out. I think you've got to treat it like, hey, we're in the West. We need to win the very next game. and the very next game, and the very next game, kind of like Coach Brown, possession after possession after possession. I mean, yeah, I think you really just got to focus on the next game, and really treat it as, make sure that you're going into every game, totally ready. You can't have those flat quarters like we saw last night. So, yeah, the game 60 doesn't mean much to you right now, and the Kings are in a little bit of a hole. So, the old saying, when you're in a hole, quit digging, and that's exactly what has to happen.
Given what you just said, do you think that might, in a way, speed up the Kings' sense of urgency for making a deal? And I know you can't hurry into it. You got to make sure it's the right deal, but is there more pressure to do it as soon as you can, because it is important to win as many games here as you can?
I do. I mean, and as you said, I mean, you don't want to make a deal that you don't want to make. That's not good for you. And but if you can get a deal that you're confident or reasonably confident that will make you a better team tomorrow, well, then make it. It gives a team more time to really be better. I think I'm pretty confident that Monty McNair and Coach Brown know that they'd like to have another piece that could really be a top, whether a starter or a top 7 or 8 guy, to really make a strong run at the West. And I think, at least that's my opinion, that without that, I don't know how high up they can go.
Jerry, you talked about the team being close. They're 5-5 over their last 10. However, and it seems like they're playing better, but they just aren't seeing it in results when it comes to wins. Do you feel that way? And what's it going to take, I guess, to start closing these out and getting some of these wins?
Well, that's true. I mean, I really like the starters, and I think Monk being in the starting lineup has made the Kings a lot tougher team to cover. Offensively, I think we've seen that. Defensively, probably hasn't made the team any better. Not necessarily because of him, but I'm just saying that's still the problem. And for them, I still go back to the bench. I mean, to get some stability in the rotations, which it's impossible to do now, when you got Herter and Lyles, 2 key reserves out, and of course Keon Ellis is still like, it seems to me that he should have established that he is one of those guys, but that's what kind of has to happen. I mean, in the short term, is just try to get healthy and make sure you got your rotations, and the starters are still learning themselves. Certainly with Monk as a starter, changed the team dynamic a little bit. But I still look at the West, and other than Oklahoma City, I don't see anybody that's just particularly a lot better. If they might, the record says they're better, but you look at the Kings' record, and their win margin is about 3 points, which means that they should be well above 500. Now they're not. I get that, and that's mostly because of their poor performance at home, and that's still the biggest thing in my mind that has to change. You can't move up in the standings if you can't win your home games.
Mm-hmm. Coach, wanted to ask you about Jokic. It seems like for the most part, the Kings did a halfway decent job on him, and then he kind of took over in the fourth quarter. We've probably asked you about this before, but the pantheon of all the players that you have seen, how unique is Jokic? What stands out to you about him?
Well, he's obviously one of the all-time greats, really. I mean, he's got his instincts for the game are just amazing. He's kind of like a 7-foot Luka Doncic or something. I mean, he can make the three. He's not pretty. He's got a little bit of Larry Bird in him too. The instincts for passing are just amazing, and he's a one of one. I don't know that there's anybody I could compare him to. I mean, he might look like a Billy Paultz, but he doesn't play like Billy Paultz. and you have to be a little older to remember Billy Paultz. But
the Whopper, right? Didn't they call him the Whopper?
The Whopper, yeah. But I mean, and certainly Jokic can whop you. But yeah, he's remarkable. I mean, if he keeps playing like he's playing, I mean, when they talk about all-time greats, his name's going to be popping up in there.
Joined by the great Jerry Reynolds. Jerry, you've been in the city, you know, I don't even want to say how long, but a long time here. I feel the urgency with the fan base right now. What's the message, I guess, you would say right now about where the team is and where it's going and the outlook right now?
Well, I would still say have a little bit of patience. I mean, it is a long haul, and there's peaks and valleys, and we don't know just exactly how good this team can be, but it's a fun team, an unselfish team. It's I think for sure a winning team, and is it going to be able to win enough to satisfy us all? Maybe not, but maybe so. I just say kind of back off, let Monty McNair and Coach Brown do their jobs, and then at the end we can all just second guess the heck out of them near the end of the season if it's not what we hope, and I don't think that they're never going to be able to please everybody, but I just think that give this team a chance, a little more of a chance. I think it's on the right path, but got to start winning games.
Yep.
But in the meantime, this is if you like NBA basketball and you like, this is a good bunch to watch. I mean, if you can't enjoy watching De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis and DeRozan and Monk, I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
I'm guessing you asked Santa Claus for 2 wins in a row here over the Lakers. Is that right?
I'll tell you what, if he could do that, I wouldn't need anything else.
Right.
Nothing else.
Thank you, Jerry.
Santa Claus, just bring a couple of wins over to the evil Lakers from Southern California.
Gotcha.
That's all, Santa.
That's all he needs. Right?
I don't need new socks or a cup like Kyle does.
Got enough of those already. Got enough of those.
So just 2 wins from the Lakers, all right?
Thanks, Jerry.
See you guys.
All right,
Jerry.
take it easy. Speaking of Jerry's, when we come back, Jerry Jones' weekly interview today, win someplace no one really expected.